Hello everyone and welcome to our new episode of the Expat Career and Lifestyle podcast. This is Dominika, your host, and today I am coming to you with another special guest, Alexandra Paucescu. She is from Romania, born in Bucharest, former exchange high school student in the US, and she has a degree in management and master in business. She speaks 5 languages, and she turned diplomatic spouse by the age of 30. And she's also an author of a fantastic book, Just a Diplomatic Spouse. And today with Alexandra, we are going to speak about her life as a diplomatic spouse. So welcome, Alexandra. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. So please tell us more about how your international journey started.
Well, I would say, as you mentioned before, my first experience, not as an expat, but living abroad, was when I was an exchange student in the USA. I was in high school, and it was the first time that I lived away from my parents and from my country for such a long time. So it was quite difficult at the beginning, but I would say Americans are very friendly, and I got integrated quite well and quite easily there. So it wasn't such a big I don't know, I didn't need such a long time to adjust. Maybe because I was younger, maybe because I was in high school, so I already had this group of people that I would meet normally every day. But I would say they are very friendly, and they welcomed me. And just to give you a small example, in order to help me integrate better and easier, they also proposed that I would join the marching band. And this marching band would go with the football team everywhere for all the games. And we would play some songs to encourage the team. And it was a very good idea because it helped me also to integrate faster, and also to learn to play an instrument, which I didn't know before. So only advantages.
Fantastic. Yeah, so this is a great example of integrating and adapting. And usually, because I also moved when I was in my 20s, so it was like an adventure for me, an experience. And you have different experiences at different stages of your life. So sometimes it can be easier, sometimes it can be more challenging, so it depends. And when it comes to your experience, so at 30 years old you became a diplomatic spouse. So how this impacted your life, your international life, or your life in general?
I would say changed it completely. I was quite content with my life back home, but I decided to move, of course, when my husband's career asked for this change. And of course, I knew that he was a diplomat, and I knew at one point we were about to start moving from place to place, but I never expected the extent of the changes that my life will go through. And this is one of the things that maybe most of the people who don't live such a life, an expat life, or they don't move often from place to place, they don't quite come to understand all the changes that we go through, and all the things that you have to be prepared to leave behind. So you leave your family behind, you leave your friends, you have to learn maybe a new language, you are in a completely new environment. So you need to learn to adapt fast to the reality, and to find ways to integrate, to find people, to be friendly, to be open to opportunities. These are all. This is, I would say, a set of qualities that maybe you don't possess at the beginning, but you learn to get to have them, and to bit by bit you learn from your own experiences. Of course, it helps when somebody else can help you, like coach you, train you, prepare you a little bit. It's always helpful if you have such kind of help. I would say you go for it. But if you don't have it, you'll just learn by your own experiences and your own mistakes.
Yeah. So like, what was like your biggest challenge, or like the obstacle that you had to overcome on this journey?
I would say a big change comes from the thing that you have to give up your job, and also because the diplomatic status and also the realities of moving quite frequently from place to place. I would say it's quite difficult to have a long-term career in the same domain. Of course, nowadays it gets a little bit easier with this like home office and home working and distance working. So I would think that also in the future, it's going to be easier and easier to adapt to this kind of life, because the opportunities and realities today are far better for us than they were, like, let's say 30 years, 50 years ago. So it's a completely different world right now, and it's in our favor. But it's difficult because you have this kind of identity. You know, you are somebody, you studied for a job, maybe you become part of a company or something, you got involved there, and when you have to leave, and when you get up one day and you realize, okay, I'm not going to work, I don't belong to to any group, like a professional group anymore, so what do I do with my life? This is, I think, one of the most difficult parts. You have to reinvent yourself and to think, okay, what can I do now? Where, or how can I contribute? How can I maybe do something different, or how can I continue with my career, my old career, or how can I improve some skills in order to help me in this new environment? So these are all questions that come to your mind, and at some point it's quite frightening at the beginning, because you don't know, how do I start? Where do I start from? What do I do now? For me, this came when I was in Vienna, in Austria, and the easiest way that I thought I could continue doing something and feeling good about myself and trying to put to practice what I've learned from before was volunteering. So this is how I started. I started volunteering, and I would say it, and I always tell everybody that, because at one point, the satisfaction that the results of your volunteering work gives you, it's far greater than maybe any paid job that you would have at some point. So the rewards are far more. But also volunteering, it's not necessarily an easy path, because you have to find some NGO that will need you. You have to integrate there. You have to prove your qualities and to see what's needed from you. So it doesn't guarantee it's going to be easy. Actually, also when we moved to Berlin, it was quite difficult for me to find somebody who would want to involve me in some kind of project, and it took me like a year to find UNICEF. I'm now collaborating with UNICEF here, but it took me a year to get to them and to get into this group, so to get accepted there. So it's not easy either, but it's a way. You can do it. Of course, freelancing is also it's always a choice, and it seems like maybe an easier one, because you get to be your own boss, and you you pretty much can work from everywhere. So it could be also an advantage and an opportunity.
Yeah, so there are like many ways to find fulfillment, like this compensate maybe like this loss of professional identity, which comes with sometimes with expats moving, expat partners, or like expat spouses. Yeah, so volunteering and freelancing. Yeah, and you also wrote a book, Just a Diplomatic Spouse, where you are like describing your life, the beautiful aspects of this diplomatic life that you have, and also like Austria and Berlin, places to see in Germany. So like what prompted you to write this book and like share with people your experience?
First of all, I also mentioned in the book, one of the main reasons that I thought about writing the book is that there are so many cliches and so many misunderstandings about this kind of life. I mean, usually people from outside tend to see only the beautiful side of it. And of course, it's a beautiful life. It has a lot of privileges and advantages, so I won't deny that. But it also has this part where you get to feel very lonely, you get to feel disconnected, you have to relocate every couple of years, and it's not easy. Besides the logistic part, which is also very troubling, and I'm now very close to this part also because we are about to move. So I do the same thing over and over again. So packing and unpacking, organizing everything, registering the kids in a different school in a different city. All these things, I mean, finding a house, these are all aspects that they are very similar to expat life. So in this regard, it's very similar. And people from outside tend to forget about it or are not aware of it. And also, above all that, it's also this thing that being a diplomat in this diplomatic capacity, you always have to be careful what you say, how you behave, what you do, because it doesn't matter if you are the diplomat or you are just the spouse, to use the book. You will eventually represent your country, and people where you go, wherever you go, they will automatically relate you or connect you to your own country. So you have to have a certain presentable approach to everybody. So you have to keep this in mind, and this adds to the pressure and the normal everyday pressure that everybody in this kind of life feels, I would say. So this is one of the main reason is this one. And second, I thought that as I mentioned before, if you're not trained for this kind of life, if you don't have like a coach or somebody who can guide you, you will always make mistakes, at least at the beginning. So I thought maybe if I would tell my story, maybe some people could learn some things out of it, and maybe they could avoid some of the mistakes that I made. And now I know better that, okay, for the next postings, maybe I will try to avoid. So if I can help somebody, it will be my pleasure.
Yeah. So you said like the one like drawbacks or like a negative aspect can be like feeling lonely or feeling disconnected as a diplomatic spouse. So how, even as an expat or like international people who are moving, so how did you, because you are also describing this this moment in your book while you were living in, while you are still living in Germany, that you felt lonely like at the beginning. So how did you, how to overcome that? How to overcome this feeling of loneliness and like being disconnected?
First of all, I would tell everybody that if you feel like something is wrong, you should talk to somebody. So you need help at some point. So don't wait until it's too long, because it can be very serious, and it can lead you even to depression or to some serious conditions. So don't wait too long. Try to find help somewhere. Ask somebody. Go to a physiotherapist or go to somebody. Talk to somebody, maybe also from the expat community or from somewhere. One of the things that helped me was to try to get involved, to meet people. At the beginning of any postings, I say to everybody now that the best approach is just go to every event that you are invited to. Don't refuse anything. Probably you might not like most of them or part of them, but at least you have the chance to meet people, to socialize, and to choose. Okay, you don't like this group of people, you will find maybe others will be more on your side, but you have to try. Don't stay lonely, don't stay at home too much, go out, see the city, find groups that you belong to, go to maybe language classes or sports classes or whatever. From this point of view, I would say the diplomatic community has a little advantage comparing to the expat community, that we more or less everywhere we move, we have these diplomatic clubs that are made of spouses of diplomats. So more or less we are in the same position, all of us. So we understand each other better, what we're going through, what our difficulties are. We know how to help each other and support each other. And most of the times the diplomatic community is quite supportive. So people are quite nice to each other because they've been through the same things. So they know how to react to them, and they know how to advise others to cope with that. So this is also something that really helps, and it helped me. I mean, especially the diplomatic club here in Germany is very well organized, and it has a lot of opportunities for you. You can join a lot of groups that do a lot of activities that might interest you, active ones, to discover the city, to discover the country, to learn a new language, to dance, to paint, to whatever. So for everybody's interest, I would say. So you just have to let yourself be involved in that. So come with an open mind. This is one of the best advices that I would give to everybody. Just be open to new relations, and to discover and to try new things. You know, when you go somewhere, even for a holiday, and you like to try like local food, and it's always nice to try things. This is also the same kind or similar when you relocate. So try new things, not only with food, with people, with activities, you might like them. Maybe not all of them, but you might discover something which can get later to one of your biggest passions. You never know.
Yeah, so like being open, yeah, and like pushing yourself, going out of your comfort zone, because sometimes we can stay like at home, right. Yeah, or like within also like our own community of people, like for example Polish people, English people, like people from our home country, and like don't go out and meet with locals. So like what would you say are like 3 key steps, or like your 3 key advices or tips to adapt to a new country?
I also, when you read the book, for sure you've seen that I have a special chapter there with some guidelines, things that I would recommend to other diplomatic spouses or expats moving somewhere to do in order to get easier over this adaptation period. So I would say now, one of the best advices that I would give is try to prepare yourself a little bit, learn a little bit about the place you're going to move. It always helps if you know a little bit from before. So don't go there just knowing nothing about the place and about the people. And if you, of course, it will not prepare you 100%, and you will still experience some situations maybe that would seem awkward or you won't like at the beginning, but you will know a little bit what to expect. So I think the cultural shock, it's going to be a little bit smaller or softer if you prepare yourself a little bit. Read about the people, about the culture, the local culture. It always helps. I also give intercultural trainings sometimes, and I always tell people in classes there that most of the conflicts in the world generally are made because of the misunderstandings, because of the difference in the cultural attitude. So if you study a little bit, or if you learn a little bit about the culture that you are going to move to, you will know how to respond to and how to react, and you will not be offended or surprised or about how people react. So this would be like my one of the first advices that I'll give to everybody. Second of all, of course, it's something that I've done sadly at the beginning, and I learned now that it's not helpful and it's not good to do, is you don't have to compare people and places. So if you move from one place to another, don't think back. Don't compare how it used to be there and how it's now, and because people are different, places are different, and usually I think human mind is made this way that you always tend to forget the bad parts about the past, so you remember only the good ones. So you will always think good about the past, and oh, how good it was there, and how well were things were arranging there, and how difficult it is now, especially when you are at the beginning of a new posting, let's say. So don't do this comparison, because it's not helpful, and it will only bring you down, so don't do it. Also, if you can learn the local language, it's also helpful, because this is, I would say, like the first step into your adaptation phase, and in order to get in touch easier with people and with locals, it's always helpful to learn the language. For me, for example, German, everybody knows that German is not such a very easy language to learn. So at the beginning, it was a little bit more complicated, but now I manage fine. So, and I would say it really helps if you are able to talk to people in their own language. It's really helpful.
Yeah, and you also like describe in your book then when you moved from Austria to Germany, the German that you learned in Austria was a little bit different from the German that you speak in Germany. So the people couldn't sometimes understand you.
Yeah, it's there are some funny situations, of course, because there are little differences, but they are still there. And I understand if you, for example, move to Switzerland, it's even more complicated. I mean, they also speak German, but
different.
It's a different German too. So it's even if you know the language, it doesn't guarantee that you you understand the people. But it certainly helps, at least a little bit. So just. To give you another example, if you have kids, you go to school with them, and other kids from their friends come to you and talk to you. So it's nice to be able to reply, at least at basic point. So
exactly. So you describe in your book like many beautiful places to visit in Austria and also in Germany. So like, what is like your favorite place to visit?
As you've seen in the book, it has an extensive part about traveling, because we are very passionate travelers, and we travel generally in the world. We like to have long holidays to discover new places, but also because we were lucky enough to live in these countries, which are really, really beautiful, we took the time to discover them, and we used our weekends to get away and to see new cities, new places. And I described some of them, which are maybe not very touristic, and you cannot find all of them like on a normal search on internet, but places that we loved and we thought that they are beautiful and worth seeing. So I would say there are many. For example, one of my most I think it's one of the most beautiful place in Austria is around Wolfgangsee. It's a lake, but it's surrounded by mountains. It's a very nice lake. You can go with the boat. There are all these very small villages all around the lake that you can visit with all these painted houses. It's really, really beautiful. And especially, for example, in Christmas time, they have all these Christmas markets, little Christmas market. It's like a fairy tale. So I would always recommend this area to anybody. Also along the Danube, if you go from Vienna, you can go by bike, or and there are also these little vineyards and all these restaurants, local restaurants, where you can eat local foods and delicious foods, and also taste good wine. So there are a lot of places. And also in Germany, one of our favorite cities in Germany is Hamburg, which is really, really beautiful. It's by the sea. It has an incredible architecture. You can take the boat and go around the harbor and see it more from there. There are a lot of places. So I would say one of the best advantages of this kind of life is that you really get to know if you're interested, of course, and if you want to do it, you get to know the country very well. Because when you go on a holiday or just a few days and you take a city break somewhere, of course you will visit something, but you will not really sense you will not get the local taste as you do when you stay for a few years. So this is one of the best advantages of this kind of life, and I really enjoy this part. So this is why I also wrote extensively about this, because we really enjoy it, and we try to discover the country and to see its beauty, and to pass it on, to recommend it to others, of course.
Yeah, and it is like the best way to learn more about the new culture and the country. To travel and to visit those places.
And to try to not go only like in the described traditional tours where you go only in the center of a city. And I always like, when I go somewhere to visit something, I always like to walk on the narrow streets and to see how the very small shops are arranged and how people live and what's their everyday life is. So I like to get the feeling of how the locals really live. So this is really nice, and I really like it.
Fantastic, wonderful, Alexandra. So thank you very much for being with us today and for sharing your experience with us. So tell us, what are your projects for the future, and also how people can connect with you and where they can find your book.
For a moment, as I said, we are about to move from Berlin, so our life will be quite busy for the next few months, I would say. But besides that, I'm also writing for a couple of magazines. So I write monthly articles for them. I also do interviews, a series of interviews with other diplomatic spouses. As the title of my book is Just a Diplomatic Spouse, it was a little bit like an ironic title, because is that we are not just diplomatic spouses. So most of the women, and not only women, because there are also a lot of men which are diplomatic spouses right now, we have career, jobs, passions, hobbies, things that we are passionate about and we do well. So maybe people don't know about it, or they try to minimize that. So this series of interviews that I'm doing for one diplomatic magazine that I'm writing for, they are just trying to emphasize this idea that to discover and to present spouses with their own career, work, lifetime achievements, and to celebrate them besides the diplomatic status that we have. So this is one very dear project to me, and I'm very lucky that I got people around me who supported me in that, and they recognized the need for that. I'm also currently working on a children's book. I'm hoping it's going to be out soon. It's also about traveling, but also about achieving your dreams and being able to be confident that you will, with work, of course, you will get wherever you want to. So I think this is also a message that it's important to pass on to our children. And of course, as I mentioned, also I do some intercultural trainings for people who want to relocate, or who want to find out about this subject, which is more and more important, because the life nowadays it's taking us globally. So we need to be prepared to understand differences in culture.
Yeah, and so how people can connect with you?
I'm on Instagram under my name, Alexandra Paucescu. I would say I'm most active there. I also have a Facebook page, Just a Diplomatic Spouse, the name of the book. Of course, they can find the book on Amazon or Waterstones or so I would say if you Google my name, you will find it for sure.
Fantastic. I will put the link to Instagram and Facebook with the show notes so people can go and check it.
Thank you.
So thank you very much again, Alexandra, for being with us and for sharing your experience. Thank you very much for listening or for watching if you are watching the video. So please tell us what are your learning points from this interview, what are your insights, share in the comments, and I will be back soon with another episode. Thank you very much. Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you.